This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Upgrade your business with Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning fewer carts going abandoned and more sales going cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, get a commerce platform that's ready to sell wherever your customers are. Visit shopify.com to upgrade your selling today.
Today on CityCast Boise. Faces of Hope is back in Boise and helping victims of abuse, stalking, violence, and trafficking. I spoke with Executive Director Paige Dinger to learn more about their new location and free resources they provide, and how our population growth has led to significantly more demand for crisis resources. Plus, she shares some powerful stories about how their work saves lives. This episode discusses topics that could be upsetting. It's Wednesday, September 4th. I'm Lindsay Van Allen, and this is what Boise's talking about. Paige, thank you so much for taking time to talk with me today.
Thanks for having me. This is so exciting.
I especially wanted to talk to you because you recently opened a new location in Boise, and you also have a location in Meridian, and you used to have a Boise location. What happened to the previous Boise facility?
So we were in a really great location that was centrally located, but as we were growing, we felt like we needed to expand on our own, but it also had law enforcement and it had other organizations that sometimes made our clients a little bit nervous. So we weren't in Boise as quick as we wanted, but because we had our Meridian location, we took our time and we found the most perfect location in Boise as well.
Yeah, and I want to talk about this new location. I had a chance to go to the ribbon cutting, and the new building is an historic house in the downtown area. Was there a reason you chose a house or what has traditionally been a house over a more commercial facility?
Well, we looked at commercial facilities, but when we walked into the house, we just knew. I mean, it felt like home. I know that sounds really cheesy, but it just felt like the perfect place for somebody who's dealing with trauma. You know, in our old Boise location, it was very industrial. This new location with, bedrooms and a kitchen, it just felt like a warm and secure place.
That's what I noticed is I got a chance to tour the facility, and it does feel it feels like grandma's house.
Yeah.
Is maybe how I describe it. Very cozy, big airy windows. And definitely I was like, if I needed services here, this is someplace I think I could feel comfortable, which I think is really cool that you can offer that for people who need access to your facility.
Yeah, we love it.
So what are some of the victim services that you provide for anybody who maybe is unfamiliar or, less familiar with that space?
So Faces of Hope is unique because there are other nonprofits that provide support to victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and child abuse. We provide that triage to those who have just left their abuser or who have just experienced sexual assault. We can put you in a hotel for a few days or a few weeks. We can provide the food and gas cards so that you can take care of, filling your pantry or filling your gas tank. What we don't think about sometimes is when somebody is being monitored by their abuser who's checking their credit card all the time, maybe filling a gas tank and having to account for every dollar they spend is something that they don't want to account for all the time. So giving them a gas card to fill their tank, to not have to explain where they've been and why they went somewhere can be really helpful. We also replace eyeglasses. That's oftentimes the first thing that's broken in an argument. And when you don't have those, it's hard to work. It's hard to do anything. We are dependent on our cell phones, and cell phones are our lifeline. And cell phones are the first thing to also be smashed and broken in an argument. And so we replace cell phones so that you can call your family or your attorney or 911. We also provide an attorney. A lot of people have no idea what their rights are. and to be able to contact your attorney and learn how to get a divorce, how to get a protection order, how to have full custody of your children. Also, we know that bruises are going to heal, but it's that emotional support that if you don't take care of can provide detrimental things to your health down the road. So we have crisis counselors here where there's no wait lists. You can see a counselor today, tomorrow, or next week. That's how we support the people that we serve here at Faces of Hope.
And for someone who is maybe listening and thinking, I don't know if I need those services, or I don't know if I'm at that point, what are maybe some indicators or signs that somebody could really benefit from having access to your services?
You know, we had somebody come in a couple of years ago, and we see this all the time, but, you know, they'll say, my partner doesn't physically hurt me. I just don't have access to finances, or, you know, they isolate me from my family. There's that emotional piece is still just as harmful. The financial piece is still just as harmful. Also, you know, if you're a friend and you're noticing that maybe your friend is always wearing long sleeve shirts to cover up bruises, or is crying a lot, maybe their behavior is changing. I often talk to people about like their neighborhood. You may have a neighbor who has been very social, who always waves and is always the one that wants to talk. And then lately their blinds are closed and they don't come out ever, or when they do, they're always escorted by their partner. So there's often indicators, and we can often just be a good neighbor and check on one another. We had a really great speaker a few years ago. It was Elizabeth Smart, and you may be familiar with her story. She was kidnapped when she was 13 years old. She said that it takes so much courage for somebody to go to police or to a friend, to a neighbor, and if they are coming to you and saying that they are being abused, that the best thing you can do is just believe them. You know, don't ask why they're staying, why they haven't gone to police. Just believe them and ask them how you can be a support.
Hi, this is David, the CEO of CityCast. Do you ever find yourself holding back on travel because you're afraid of a language gap? Well, mind the gap no longer, as long as you have Babbel. Babbel is the science-backed language learning app. Its 10 minutes lessons are quick and handcrafted to get you talking your new language in 3 weeks. So I was reminded in the Olympics how much I love French. I had spoken French as a kid, but it has deteriorated to nothing. But I thought I would love to take a trip back to France with my girlfriend, but I'm embarrassed because my French is at 0. And I thought, why don't I get on Babbel and revive my French? And it's been a joy for the past few weeks. I'd forgotten everything. I'd forgotten plurals. I'd forgotten articles, vocabulary. Mostly I'd just forgotten how to speak and how to listen. And Babbel has me back on track with lots of speaking and lots of listening, because that's how you get better at a language. So I've been working on time, for example. And there's this way in French where when you say 2:45, you don't say 2:45, you say 3 o'clock minus 15. So, je rentre à 3h moins le quart. I'm coming back at 2:45. Anyway, it's so much fun to speak. And don't take my word for it. There's studies from Yale, from Michigan State University that prove that Babbel works. So here's a special limited time deal for CityCast listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/citycast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/citycast. Spelled BABBEL.com/citycast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Upgrade your business with Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning fewer carts going abandoned and more sales going cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, get a commerce platform that's ready to sell wherever your customers are. Visit shopify.com to upgrade your selling today.
Boise and the Treasure Valley have seen some significant growth over the past few years. And have you found that that's also created a proportionate increase in the amount of people who need access to your services?
We, on average, see between our two locations about 26 people a day needing services.
Oh, wow.
6 of those people are typically brand new. They've never been into our facility before, and they're looking for support. And so basically that means about every 11 or 12 minutes, somebody's coming in needing help. Some of them have been people who have been coming in for counseling and legal support. But, when it comes to the growth of Ada County, yes, I believe that Ada County Dispatch receives over, 4,000 calls a year just in abuse, reporting domestic violence, sexual assault, and child abuse. And so it's, I feel like we live in a wonderful community, and we like to live in this bubble. I like to call it this bubble where we all feel like we live in this wonderful place. But even Boise, Idaho isn't immune to the statistics. We're all going to be impacted by abuse at some point in our life. And whether it's ourself or it's our coworker that we sit next to or our sister. And it doesn't even matter if we hear a lot more about female people who are experiencing it, but it really doesn't know a demographic, an age, population, a sex. It affects all of us. While most of it is between the ages of 18 and 34 women, it impacts all of us.
Well, and I definitely want to get into that, because at the ribbon cutting, I was actually shocked. There were several displays talking about these different domestic violence and, partner violence statistics, and they really are shocking.
Mm-hmm. They're shocking. And our bubble doesn't discriminate. So are you okay if I share some numbers?
Yeah, please do.
So 1 in 3 women will experience abuse. Now that can be child abuse, that can be domestic violence, sexual assault, that can be elder abuse. So that's just in your lifetime. But the number that I think people don't think about is 1 in 4 men will experience abuse at some point in their lifetime. The other number that I think is staggering is sexual assault survivors typically say that 80% of women who have experienced sexual assault are the age of 25 at their first sexual assault encounter. 80%, which I think that number is staggering. And the other number that I think is sad is that only 20% of sexual assaults are reported to police. So that means 80% of people who have been sexually assaulted in their lifetime are figuring out how to deal with it on their own. Now, the good news is you can go to organizations like FACES, WCA. You can go to, counseling sessions. You can get help and support for that, and you don't have to report to police. But that just means that people who are the perpetrator are getting away with it.
Yeah.
However, we are never going to force anybody to report, because that is absolutely up to you whether or not you want to report, because that takes on its own set of challenges. Facing your perpetrator in court, I don't wish on anybody, but if you do want justice, then you can go that route, and we're going to be there with you every step that we can.
And I think that understanding and offering a variety of options is probably really important for people as they're trying to make decisions. Also, maybe on a little happier, a bit of an upswing, your new building also houses the Diaper Bank, the University of Idaho's Family Justice Clinic, and Hope's Closet. Can you tell us more about those programs?
Oh, yes. Those are some of my favorite things to talk about. Maybe I'll put some stories with them too, because I think they're just so wonderful. So there's a statistic that 1 in 3 babies have a wet or soiled diaper that they have to wear throughout the day, because couples who are experiencing economic financial difficulties, one of the biggest fights tends to be about diapers, young couples with babies. And so we wanted that to be one of our preventative measures. Anybody can just come in and ask for a pack of 50 diapers so that whoever is that caretaker does not have to explain why they had to go to the grocery store to buy diapers. That's just one less thing to worry about. We are excited that we have partnered with the U of I Law School for over 7 years. We take third-year law students. They get to go to the courthouse, and they are licensed temporarily to do family law and to go in front of judges and do temporary protection orders. They do divorce, custody, name changes, all of that. One of the coolest things that happened a few years ago was there was a little boy, a horrific thing had happened. He experienced abuse at the hands of his mother and mother's boyfriend, which we see that all the time. And the Department of Health and Welfare was able to take this boy away from mom as they do, and his mom was awaiting trial. And they found the father, who was on the birth certificate, but father really, he had moved out of state. He really had no connection, didn't really know that he had a son. They contacted him and told him what had happened to his boy. Now, the important part of the story is that dad's name is Jack. Jack came to Idaho and was reunited with his son. And Jack was introduced to the law students here at the FACES Clinic. And Jack wanted to move his son back to Oregon and have him meet his family. Well, before Jack's son wanted to move back to Oregon with Jack, he said, "Can we go back to the clinic at FACES one more time? I have one more request." And Dad said, "What's that?" And he said, "Dad, I've never had anybody who cared for me like you. And my name is what they called me every time mom and her boyfriend abused me. I want to change my name. I want a whole fresh start." And Dad Jack said, "Well, what would you like your name to be? This is a big decision." And the boy said, "I want my name to be Jackson because I'm your son."
Oh.
We all cried that day. It was the most amazing day. The law students went in front of the judge, told him that story. Judge changed this boy's name to Jackson. And we haven't heard anything since, but Jack and Jackson are now living in Oregon. Oh. That is our favorite story. So what we find is that the law clinic gets to help victims of domestic violence, sexual assault. They've supported victims of human trafficking start a whole fresh life. And these students oftentimes go on to work in other justice clinics all over the country because of the work that they've had here.
Oh, wow.
And then the other one that you asked me about, I can't even remember.
Oh, Hope's Closet.
Oh.
This is the one I got to see a little bit on the tour, and I thought this was amazing. And I definitely wanted listeners to know about it.
Hope's Closet is sort of like, I don't know, this will date me, but if you've watched like Pretty Woman and she goes in and she tries on all these clothes, and she comes out looking just absolutely amazing. It's like the Cinderella story.
Classic. It's iconic.
It's iconic. That is what happens in Hope's Closet. Because, they will come in. We had a woman that was wearing the same clothes. She'd been sleeping in her car. She comes into FACES. We take her to Hope's Closet and we give her a week's worth of clothes. All of these clothes have tags on them. They're brand new. They've never been worn before. And so they come out with a wardrobe. It's one of those things where it was important to us that they get brand new things. And part of that is we had one woman come in who said, "This is really embarrassing, but I have not been able to have new pairs of underwear. I've been wearing the same underwear for 9 years." And they were, when you have underwear that's really old and it's hanging by those elastic threads, that was this woman. And when we gave her a package of brand new Hanes underwear, she broke down into tears. Wow. If somebody can break down for underwear, you can imagine the amazing stories we have when they are trying on work outfits for their first job, or pajamas after they've been sexually assaulted. Moments like that just they remind us why we do this work every day.
Well, Paige, what are some of the ways, like from hearing those stories, what are some of the ways that the community can support FACES, support these programs, or get involved in the work that you're doing?
Well, there are always tangible things. You can always donate to Hope's Closet. I was actually in Hope's Closet yesterday, and we are low on shoes and underwear. So really tangible thing. However, there's also things that, people are always looking for something to do. Maybe you're looking to volunteer your time. And so whether you feel comfortable coming into some of our facilities and volunteering your time, if you're comfortable being at our front desk, or if you're not comfortable doing that, we have opportunities where you can help us organize Hope's Closet. We were actually talking about asking some of our volunteers to help us shop. We have donated dollars. We just need people to shop and help us get some kids' clothing. We're short on kids' clothing, but we have funds. We just need people to go to Target and to Walmart to buy sizes for us. Or if you have an inclination to do a financial donation, we offer all of our services at no cost. But it does cost. We apply for grants, and we have events, and we ask people for meaningful donations all the time. And so you can click on our donation button all the time on our website. So those are easy ways to help. Now, there are fun ways that you can support us too. And we have an event coming up next Friday. If you live in Meridian, you're probably already familiar with this, but we have the Rockathon, Scentsi's Rockathon, coming up Friday, September 6th. We're still looking for rockers. They're donating $250 for every fanny in a seat every hour. And if you do the math, it's from 8 in the morning to 8 at night. Every hour on the hour, they're switching people. That is $210,000 that we have an opportunity to make from Scentsy if we get rockers in those seats.
And you just got to sit. You just got to sit and rock.
Sit and rock. That's it. And it goes fast. Like, that hour goes fast, but people also sign up fast. But I've been told by Scentsy that they will always have some available options of, like, if you didn't have time to sign up, you can come and they are going to find you a seat. So you can just come if you can't find an open slot on the Sign Up Genius that they've created.
Oh, perfect. Okay, we will link to that event and see if we can get a link to that sign up for any listeners who want to get involved. Paige, thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to explain. And I know this is a heavy conversation, but thank you so much for walking us through it and breaking it down.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for bringing awareness. I don't mean to be the downer at the party. You guys always do such a great job on your podcast. So thanks for talking about a heavy topic.
That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. If you enjoyed the show, we would love it if you would tell a friend about us. We'll be back tomorrow morning with your guide to fall camping. See you then.